Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. It's land.
Yeah, but isn't this the unplugged version? I don't know. I think it's the unplugged version. All right, Paulie, let's go.
Oh,
And they
God.
specifically say that. They say, how are you addressing or how are you trying weaving or differentiating from the white savior trope from that is inherent in the source material? So right away, they're speaking from a place of, you know, ignorance, because if they knew the story and understood it, and maybe like, and of course it's more than one book too. It's a saga, and you really have to take into consideration the whole series, Frank Herbert series. And then you would know, then you wouldn't ask that question to begin with.
You wouldn't ask that question. And this is from Slash Film by Jeremy Matai. Let's read a little bit of it. It almost feels like the hype for Dune couldn't possibly get any higher, particularly after reviews across the board have been positively glowing. It would seem that director Denis Villeneuve has put to rest any concerns that he might not be able to bring the unwieldy yet wildly influential story from the mind of Frank Herbert to life. I'm already not liking this writer.
I know it's.
I'm already not liking this writer. Oh my God! I mean, why are you doing this to me, Elaine? Especially when many others have tried before and failed. What?
I will also say.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I will also say that Slash Film, their review was glowing in regards to the film. So this is something that kind of came out of nowhere. Like,
okay, well,
I think this was like at a press conference after like they saw it, and yeah, this is her comments.
However, the choice of Villeneuve as director and a largely non-MENA cast for a story so clearly inspired by the culture, setting, and worldview of the region left some with a bad taste in their mouth. Really? This is it this, or is this you just putting this in there? Add in the fact that Frank Herbert's novels position Paul Atreides, played by Timothée Chalamet, in the film as the chosen one figure that has been widely interpreted and criticized as a white savior. It is easy to see how the film might rub people the wrong way. But you talk about misinformation.
Yeah, it's amazing too, because when you look at it, this is probably one of the most diverse casts that
it was diverse
I've seen in a while.
Yes.
But the source material is inherent to diversity. But this is like 20,000 years into the future. You know, humans have evolved, and you know, we're probably like a blended soup.
Well,
so yeah, continue if you want. Sorry.
You know, it's interesting. I think you're right. Humans have evolved, and when Herbert was writing, you know, he didn't write any journalists or politicians in there, or not politicians, the press.
And when you think about it, yes, like just think about like 20,000 years into our future. So this is from so it's just think about that, and it's regressed in many ways. This is like a feudalistic society. And these institutions that have come up, they're like, you know, religious or that, you know, have that structure, and so patriarchal institutions as well. So this isn't a utopian society. This is specifically to look at not trusting charismatic leaders, like, and the consequences, you know, from doing that.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
but as far as like, you know, Frank Herbert took inspiration from, you know, Arabic and African tribes. So the source material lends itself to diversity, but even then it's not good enough.
Elaine, it's never good enough nowadays. Okay, let's go on. Dune and white saviorism. That's really unfortunate, man. You know, I almost don't want to.
This really does stem, though, from the writer's misunderstanding of the source material. So you really kind of have to look at it from that. She's trying to impute something from her lack of knowledge.
Yeah, she's trying to, maybe either she got the marching orders or she's putting her own agenda in there.
She's looking for something to critique.
Yeah. Similar to how J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings novels did much to codify, establish, and popularize many of the classic tropes of fantasy genre, Frank Herbert's Dune can be held up as a definitive inspiration of many sci-fi elements that would later be seen in Star Wars. That's an enormous amount of historical influence to ascribe to any single piece of media. But Dune more than holds up to such scrutiny. That's not to say it's perfect, which is where the complaints about white saviors have come in the recent roundtable interview attended by film writer Vanessa Armstrong. Who's that? Okay.
It's a slash film writer. Yeah, so she works for the site.
Okay, gotcha. I'm like, okay, yeah. Thank you. Villeneuve addressed these concerns and hopefully set some minds at ease. And this is his quote. It's very important. It is a very important question. It is. No, he should have just said, that's a stupid ass question. Next.
Actually, they don't have her question in here, which I thought it was odd at the time. They don't. Oh, I don't know how she worded the question. They don't include it. She just kind of gives commentary and then his response. So I'm not sure how her question was worded, and it could very well have also impacted or shaped his response. But
and how that question is worded, it's probably not worded how we think or how you know. And
I don't like it when writers do that. Just have your question, that way I know like where the where the person's answer is kind of coming from.
You're absolutely right. It is why I thought that Dune is, and when I'm reading it, relevant. It's a critique of that. It's not a celebration of a savior. It's a critique. It's a combination of that criticism of that idea of a savior, of someone that will come and tell another population how to be and what to believe and try to tell them how. So it's not a condemnation, but a criticism. That's the way I feel it's relevant, and that can seem contemporary. That's what we'll say about that. Yeah, frankly, it's the opposite.
Yeah, he actually gives I really appreciate his response here. Mm-hmm. And I don't think the writer even understands what he's trying to say, but he's being very diplomatic. And he obviously has an intimate knowledge of the source material. So he's saying what he's saying is correct, that it is a critique of charismatic leaders. That is what Frank Herbert himself said that he was going for. In this novel, he wanted to create someone, a leader that people would follow, devote their lives to, for good reasons.
Sure.
And after power comes to him, what would happen with some of the decisions that he would make? Because he's still human. He can do amazing things, but he's still human and has, literally the weight of the universe on his shoulders. So not every decision works out very well. It actually works out to the detriment of billions of lives. So it is a critique. It really shatters. They're trying to make it sound like it's a trope when it is far from that. It really flips that trope on its head, and he's trying to say something nuanced, and they're trying to make it something simple when it's not black and white. Frank Herbert wanted to create this intricate universe and these grand themes from the viewpoint of these individuals and characters that we can relate to. So yeah, not every decision works out well.
I suspect, I think that you covered it on your channel as well.
Yes. My latest video actually breaks this down, and I include Frank Herbert's direct comments about it, and really just comes from a lack of understanding, which is sad. It's a lack of understanding from the material. And even if you just read the first book, there still are elements that you can see that things aren't great. If anything, at best, he's an anti-hero from the start. But you're supposed to feel, you're supposed to relate to this character. You're supposed to root for him. And that's the point. But his actions are far from being a savior to the Fremen. Right. If anything, the Fremen are, helping him to reach his goals. I mean, it's again, yeah, just stems from lack of understanding. But he was very diplomatic in trying, and the writer
nice.
still didn't understand.
No.
She did applaud what he said, but not for the right reasons. She's still trying to impute something that wasn't there to begin with. So it's just sad. So I just want to defend Frank Herbert because obviously he can't, defend himself.
Yeah.
So that's why
Sure.
I made those videos. I usually try to stay positive, and usually for the most part, it's great. Whatever news has been coming out about this film, I've been happy to report the positive things about it. But when it comes to defending Frank Herbert, yes, I will do that. So unfortunately, I had to do that a couple times recently. But for the most part, it's been nice to just stay positive, about it, because there's lots of good things that I'm looking forward to that I've heard in the news. And obviously, Denis has a good grasp of it, of the source material. He knows what he's doing, even though other people and who's reviewing this don't.
Well, stay strong, Denis. And I would say that this would probably not even be an issue had the cast it been a little different. And I love the casting. Unfortunately, these are the times that we're in where it's a little too superficial. That's what you want to see first, is you want to see the color. And when you don't even realize how diverse that cast is. I mean, amazingly diverse. I mean, it's not even a question. It's like, okay, now kick some ass, give us a great movie.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. It's Land.
Yeah, but isn't this the unplugged version? I don't know. I think it's the unplugged version.
All right, Paulie, let's go.